We're back here at Radio Row, Super Bowl 48 between the Seattle Seahawks and the Denver Broncos. We went to their event last year in New Orleans, and it was spectacular for a great cause, and that's the Gridiron Greats Party, and they're teaming up with another Super Bowl champion tonight. So let's welcome in Dennis McKinnon of the 85 Bears. Dennis, it's Zach Gelb here at WHIP Radio. Great to talk to you again.
It is good to be back again this year. I mean, wow. The room is smaller than it was last year when we were in New Orleans. But, I'm looking around and so much royalty in the house tonight, and hopefully looking forward to a great game on Sunday.
And I also believe last year the first radio spot that you did at Radio Row was with us,
yes.
And now everywhere we're having trouble getting you on. You're talking everywhere across the country.
Well, I'll tell you what, the Gridiron Greats Rudolph food story, I think every player in here is affected by it, wants to know about it, and want to see how they can help. So from that perspective, I don't mind spreading the love because the message is the same. And we have a lot of brothers out there in need that we need to help. And Rudolph has been a wonderful partner with us. And, but at the same time, we want to promote Pork Rind Appreciation Day, which is Super Bowl Sunday. And if you don't have it, Southern Recipe is the #1 pork rind in New York City. So if you don't have it, go to the market, make sure you get it for your game on Sunday.
I was sitting in my college dorm room, actually, and I hear a knock on the door, and all of a sudden, it's this big box, and Mark Singleton is actually to our right of us. We'll hop on in a little bit as we're talking to Dennis McKinnon. And I'm saying, what could this be? It's about 11 o'clock on a Wednesday, and it's like hundreds of pork rinds. And I'm saying, what am I going to do with all these? I can't eat all these. I'll be like, I'll blow up. So me and my buddies, we're sitting down. We're watching some TV. What are we eating? Pork rinds. Unbelievable.
It's, I tell you what, where I grew up, all we were plain pork rinds and barbecue. We have multiple flavors now. My favorite is sweet and spicy. Salt and vinegar. I really love salt and vinegar, but then again, I don't go anywhere without my hot sauce. I pour that on there. I'm good. It's a healthy snack, but at the same time, it's a snack that assists in terms of purchase from our consumer to help players in dire need. And that's why this is a great relationship, and it's about family. And when you sit at the table and you're breaking bread and you're watching this wonderful game on Sunday, you better have some Rudolph food snacks next to you.
No doubt about it. And what you guys do is so important because we talk to so many players of old and current in the National Football League, and we also always find a way to talk to Ray Lucas, Ted Johnson, guys that have really suffered after their careers, and their stories are the way that they have changed in a few years from a dark place to a good place really speaks of what your organization does. So tell us a little bit more about the event tonight, how people could still possibly buy tickets if it's not sold out, and the great things you guys are doing.
Well, the great thing about tonight is a culmination of stars coming together to celebrate what we're doing at Gridiron Greats to help their brothers. And the great thing about that is two charities, Gridiron Greats and the Kevin Turner Foundation, which deal with ALS and Kevin Turner, are the two recipients tonight. And I think the sad thing about it is that we all will get older. We all will have health issues. And when those health issues occur, we want to make sure that someone's there to help us. And this is the great thing about it is two organizations that are tribute to athletes who play the game of football and where they are today and where they might be, and assistance funds that are needed to make their lives better. And so tonight's a celebration about life and about the game that we love and about the brothers that we can help through funding. And so you can call Shannon Jordan, or you can go to gridirongreats.org, and there's a number that you can call if you still want to purchase tickets. There might be a few tickets still available. I think they're $250 a piece, and we're almost sold out.
Which is not bad because we've been to a lot of Super Bowl parties here, and the prices for these tickets are $250. I don't want to sound a little bit rude, but it is the right cost for a party here. And the guest list for tonight, I saw it last week. It was at 10 names, and now it's at like 55 names, and it's fantastic. It
is better than going to the Academy Awards. This is the who's who pro football, and a collection of stars from generation to generation. It is the place to be.
And I went to the event last year in New Orleans, and it's not like these other Super Bowl parties where it's 700 people in the room and they have all these VIP areas. You could really sit down, grab a drink, grab a meal with the athletes, and find out more about what they're doing and talk some NFL. And we're talking to Dennis McKinnon of the Chicago Bears. And let's get into the game coming up this week. Richard Sherman has been yapping his mouth ever since that NFC Conference Championship game. How would the coach, Mike Ditka, handled Richard Sherman if he came in the locker room after saying he's the best corner in the league and everyone else is mediocre?
Well, I'll tell you what, you better be able to cash that check you just wrote. And you don't isolate yourself is about you and not about the team. It's all about self-promotion. It's where the league has gone in a lot of ways. I'm not surprised by the comments. It's just that because of those comments, now so much media is focused on him. But he can worry about the guy in front of him, but Peyton's got 3 other guys he can throw to. So to me, it's the biggest game of the year, and every player wants to be seen, wants to be heard, and wants to be talked about. But this is how legends are created. So what you did in the playoffs means absolutely nothing if you don't show up on Sunday.
You guys were a fun group, though, your Super Bowl team, and you had the Super Bowl shuffle. How'd that go over in the locker room as a whole when the Super Bowl shuffle came out, especially with the coaches?
It was premature. It was after the loss in Miami, week 13, Super Bowl year 1985. But we didn't lose a game afterwards. I mean, I think we were more upset about losing in Miami. And the Super Bowl shuffle was actually set up and ready to be taped before we got on the plane to go to Miami. So it was totally a premonition that we needed to get it done. And it turned out to be the only video nominated for a Grammy. And we raised over $750,000 for charity. So it really was a team effort and something that everybody knows about the Super Bowl shuffle.
When we were in New York, everyone's talking about the bad elements, and I know it wasn't cold that day on the Fog Bowl, as you were telling us before you came on the air, but you couldn't see anything. So, and you had a huge game in the Fog Bowl, got the game ball from what you were telling us.
Yes.
Look a little bit back at the Fog Bowl for us.
Well, for the first half, it was beautiful. By the third quarter, from the hash to the sidelines, you couldn't see 10 feet in front of you. I was also returning punts for the Bears. And then when we are sending the punt team out, I tell them, guys, let you know, I'm not back there, but they can't see that I'm not back there. There are 10 guys on the field. I was standing on the sideline. And it was one of those games where the fog only engulfed Soldier Field, was nowhere else in Chicago. It was meant for us to win that day. And it's one of those games that goes down in history. But, yes, it's the elements do play a factor like they're going on Sunday. The difference being fog is precipitation. It was only about 35 degrees. It could be 10 degrees by second quarter Sunday night. That's a different element.
I don't know how they did it. Roger Goodell must have been up late at night praying to someone, but it looks like they're going to get a nice day on Sunday and a nice night because it's supposed to be somewhere in that 35, 40 degrees. And I wanted to see a blizzard to see how they would have handled the situation. But how do you like the concept of a cold weather Super Bowl? Because you won yours in New Orleans, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
And that's a neutral site where you also have it in a dome, and now they're going to play outside in the cold. So what's your take on the cold weather Super Bowl?
Well, being from Chicago, I'm kind of biased. Being the charter franchise, we should have been the first team to have an outdoor Super Bowl, which we did not have. And being from Chicago, I really don't like New York. But for this weekend, I'm going to be a fan.
Watch your mouth. I'm from New York.
I know, but there's still that rivalry in me. But I understand that in order to have the stadium built, the Super Bowl was part of that package. But it's an experience that most people don't get to see. When it's cold, they shut down baseball games. Football players, doesn't matter what the element, we play. So to me, it's the unpredictability of what's going to happen on Sunday, which is to me tremendously intriguing. So much about the cold and the wet and the wind and all that. I want to see how the greatest athletes in the world, how they perform on a stage that could be frozen, that could be windy, that could be raining. You never know. But that's the great thing about it, is a combination of a great year in the biggest city in the world, in New York City, to have a culmination here on Super Bowl Sunday.
If Sunday is a success, which I think it will be, can you find the way possibly maybe Chicago gets a chance in 5 years, Philadelphia, or even New England with the Kraft organization with the Patriots?
Well, Chicago can't have a Super Bowl. I think when we redid Soldier Field, we lost 5,000 seats for capacity. We're not big enough to host a Super Bowl. But I think this experience is one thing. We're going to always go back to being outdoors, somewhere warm. And this might be the first and last time we see this outdoors.
A few more questions with Dennis McKinnon, and then we'll get to Mark Singleton of Rudolph Food as we're live here on Radio Row, Super Bowl 48 in the Sheraton in New York City. Seahawks and Denver Broncos. Peyton Manning, this is a legacy game. He already has that one Super Bowl. He's already considered all-time great, but his playoff record is at 500. What would a win on Sunday mean to Peyton Manning's career?
Possibility he'll retire this year, not take another chance on having an injury with the neck. He has been a tremendous ambassador for the National Football League. What a great organization in Denver, especially with John Elway, a class organization. It's just one of those things. I wouldn't mind Denver winning, just for the fact that what he has done, not only in Indianapolis, but for the Denver Broncos. He's a class act. And sometimes the good guys should win.
Seattle, on the other hand, they're going to have a tough task going out there and stopping him. They're going to have to get pressure on him, play that press coverage. It's going to be interesting to see how the officials let this game play out because pass interference is so inconsistent. But on the offensive side of the ball, they have to find a way to run the football with beast mode Marshawn Lynch and punch it in when they get inside the red zone. Those are the three keys to the game for me for Seattle having a chance in this game.
Seattle has to control the clock, and they cannot fall behind. They're not a come-from-behind team. And the great thing about it, Seattle is known for only rushing 4. If you do only rush 4 and they don't get the man, he will pick you apart. And unlike most teams, they might have 1 or 2 guys to go to. Manning has 4 that he can get the ball to. And that's why I was saying that it's going to be an onslaught in terms of what Denver's offense does to Seattle's defense.
All right. Well, Dennis, we appreciate a few minutes. Now let's pass the mic over to Mark so we can talk a little bit about the food in New York and Philadelphia and a little bit more about tonight's event. So, Mark, welcome back to the program. How are you?
Zach, it's a great day in New York City, isn't it?
It is, and we had a good time last night at the owner's party, but I was a little bit disappointed by the food. I don't want to speak too loudly here because Woody Johnson, the Tisch family, and the Mara family could come over here and just kick us out of Radio Row. So best places in your mind to eat in New York?
Oh, man.
There's so many.
Oh, it's unbelievable. I love the State Store Deli. I love Carnegie's. I love Sylvia's up in Harlem. There's just so many great places to eat here.
My favorite is Peter Luger's, the steakhouse.
You can't beat Peter's. The steaks, the fries are legendary. The service is awesome. And I tell you what, this city has a smile on its face this weekend.
They do, and it's a little bit interesting with this city because when you go to New Orleans or Florida, you could tell there's a Super Bowl here. I'm walking around the streets. Besides a few signs, it looks like a regular day in New York.
Well, it is a regular day in New York City for most of them. It is the city that never sleeps.
Let's get to a little bit about tonight's event. Tell us more about the partnership between Rudolph Foods and the Great Gridiron Grade Foundation.
Well, Rudolph Foods is a family-owned company. We were founded in 1955, and we believe that food brings families together. So does football. All over America on Sunday, families are going to come together to root for their favorite team, to share food, and we just think it's a great time to have Pork Rind Appreciation Day on the biggest football holiday of the year. What goes better on Super Bowl Sunday than pigskins?
I know you're a big Dallas fan. You're a Cowboys fan, correct?
Absolutely.
Turn around and just look if anyone is familiar there. That looks like the playmaker, right? And Michael Irvin?
That's Michael Irvin. I saw Roger Staubach earlier. For a non-radio personality like yourself or an NFL player like Dennis, my biggest problem in this room is just the sore neck at the end of the day.
We're talking to Mark Singleton. A few more questions right before we let you run. I know you're a big football fan, so give me a prediction on this game for Sunday. Have you made up your mind on who you're going with?
Yeah, Dennis and I are not on the same page on this one. I think the number one defense in the league is really going to do something. And so my money's on Seattle.
And look at Dennis McKinnon now. He sees his former guy in Michael Irvin. He's going to go over to him, shake some hands. That's the beauty of this Radio Row is a lot of the former players, they reconnect with other players that they played with or played against. That's what's really cool here when you have a moment like that just happen.
Oh, well, last year at the Super Bowl where we met in New Orleans, Dennis goes, "Hey, Mark, do you know the GOAT?" And obviously I've never met Jerry Rice, but he was most gracious, very engaging. And that's been just another wonderful thing about this week and the work we're doing with Coach Ditka and the Gridiron Greats. Tonight at the party, you'll be blown away at who all is there. Dan Reeves, Herb Adderley, Jack Youngblood, Coach Ditka. It's just Otis Anderson. There's just so many great players that care about this organization and care about our partnership with Gridiron Greats.
Now, before we let you run, give our listeners back in Philadelphia a little bit of a hint if they want to try a new restaurant or go back somewhere that they love. Where are the best places in Philadelphia to eat? And don't give me the cheesesteak stuff because we all know where the best cheesesteaks are in Philly.
I can wander around in Little Italy and just pick a door. You cannot find a bad meal in Little Italy in Philly. It's just an amazing, it's got amazing food history. You've got great ethnicity, so you've got everything from great Vietnamese food to great Italian food. Just a great food city.
Well, we appreciate a few minutes, and we thank you for stopping by. And next year, I guess we have to see you in Arizona. That's if you don't get too big for us, because someone told me that you're opening up for a president in a few weeks.
The Snack Food Association is meeting in Dallas, and we have a wonderful keynote speaker in George Bush.
Well,
so we're really excited about that.
Well, we appreciate a few minutes. Great to see you, and we'll see you next year.
Thank you, Zach.